right, guys, you guys saw my full day of eating video, and now you want to know why I ate the foods I ate and how I got there from 16 weeks. So the video you guys saw, I was about 8 weeks out from the show, and I had progressed from a diet that I started at 16 weeks. Now, the diet I started at 16 weeks was meant to rebuild muscle, refill my body after a long break of not training, because I tore my tricep last year and I had about 8 or 9 months of just not training. It wasn't fully from the tear. I started the supplement company, been doing the podcast, a lot of different things going on, and I just wasn't training properly. I was eating a lot of junk food. You know, I wasn't eating like a bodybuilder, and the muscle had deflated and I'd gained a lot of body fat. And this was, at 16 weeks, my attempt at restarting like a bodybuilding regimen. So it's almost like an off-season eating program, just trying to rebuild the muscle and get that recomp physique. And maybe, you know, you guys hear words like muscle memory and things like that. I wanted my body to kind of fill back out and come back to where it was before I had taken the break. So I started with a good surplus of calories at 16 weeks, and I made progressions throughout. Now, a lot of times people ask me, I'm kind of fat and I want to look good. Should I start cutting, or should I build muscle first and then cut? Should I cut first and then build muscle? It kind of depends. If you're 25%, 30%, 40%, I would say lose some fat first. You want to come down to under 20 at least before you kind of start worrying about building muscle and being closer to a maintenance calorie diet. If you are around 20% like I was, I went into like a surplus and trying to force my body back to where it was. Like I said, my circumstance is a little bit different because I had the muscle. It kind of gone away and I was trying to bring it back, which is easier than building new muscle to begin with. Anyway, so with that being said, I'm going to show you guys kind of where I started and the progressions I made, so that if you guys are dieting, you kind of know some of the changes you could make. One of the things I don't like about people creating diets and starting on their journey is they say things like they feel like they have to get the numbers right the first time or else it's all a disaster. And it really isn't. You have to have a ballpark idea of what your numbers should look like to start. It doesn't really matter after that, because what happens is every couple weeks you can look at your diet and look at your physique and go, you know what? I gained some weight I don't want to gain. I'm going to strip away some calories. Or if you're trying to gain weight and you didn't gain weight, you're like, okay, I'm going to add some calories. The entire thing is very fluid. It's not a matter of I set my calories up on day one, and if I set them up wrong, I'm effed and I can't change anything and that's it. My whole program is screwed. That's not the case. You can set your calories. You can get as close to what you think is perfect, or guesstimate what you think you should be at. And then you can make changes depending on what you look like. And it's all very fluid and very malleable, and it's not going to be set in stone that you just mess things up. So I'm going to show you guys where I start for day one. This box here is where we start. Okay, so you have to guess how much lean body mass you have if you can't get to like a DEXA scan or a body fat caliper test or anything like that. You're going to have to look at your body and go, okay, I think I have 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds of fat. And then that's your lean body mass. So for me, I know I go on stage around 250 pounds, and that's pretty lean and dry and right on stage, no water, no fat. So I'm going to guess that my lean body mass is around 250 pounds. So using that number, then I'm going to go, my protein amount that I need per pound is 1.5 grams. Okay, now some people say 1 gram, that's fine. You can do 1 gram if you want. I have found that my body performs best at 1.5 grams per pound. So 1.5 grams per pound of protein times 250 pounds works out to 375 grams of protein. Okay, so that's what I know I need to start with. My 16-week plan at the start is going to have at least 375 grams of protein. Carbs, usually 2 to 3 grams per pound is what you need for carbs to replenish glycogen stores. If you're training really hard, you're doing cardio, you're doing these kind of things, you need 2 to 3 grams of carbs per pound. Now, I know for me, if I use 3 grams of carbs per pound, I get watery, I get a little chubby. It doesn't really work as well for me, but that's because I also have some added fats. So I know 2 grams is comfortable for me. So 2 grams of carbs times 250 pounds is 500 grams of carbs. That's where I'm starting. My surplus diet, the diet that's going to get my muscle back, 500 grams of carbs, okay? Fats, 0.35 grams. Now, that's gonna fluctuate. If you like a lot of fats, you're gonna go more. If you like a very low fat diet, you're gonna go less. For me, 0.35 grams seems to be a good number. And that 0.35 times 250 is 89 grams of fat. So these are my starting numbers. This is what I want to start with. My calories, when you add these up, 4,300 calories. So I know if I get these right, I'm going to be eating about 4,300 calories to maintain or grow a little bit, okay? So that's where my starting numbers come from. So when you're trying to do it, you're trying to figure out what you got to eat, you got to look at your body and go, all right, I got about 200 pounds of muscle, 200 pounds of lean body mass. And then multiply 1.5 times 200, 2 times 200, 0.35 times 200. That will give you a good starting point for a 40-40-20 split and a good balanced diet and get you started on your way. Now, what does that look like? I plugged in foods that I know work for me. I plugged in foods that I know don't digest well. I plugged in foods that I can prepare easily. And I plugged in foods that are very bioavailable and very efficient for my body in performance terms, okay? So eggs and egg whites, eggs are full of micronutrients. Egg whites are very bioavailable. Your body's gonna use them very efficiently for protein. Oats, give me some sustenance so I'm not hungry all the time. That'll fill me up a little bit. Peanut butter, I want some fats, and then a tomato just for taste. Okay, now yes, you're gonna get some micronutrients out of tomato, but I put it in there for taste, and the peanut butter is in there for the healthy fats, okay? The next, I go meals 2, 3, 4 are all the same. 7-ounce chicken, 300 grams of white rice. Now, a lot of you are gonna say, oh, the chicken and rice diet, here we go again. Typical bodybuilder. Look, you can do whatever you want. If you wanna eat 6 different meals with extravagant different foods and you wanna prepare all these different types of things, go for it. If you can do it and you can set up the macros and you can set up the calories and it's within your guideline, do what you wanna do. For me, I like simplicity, okay? When I say 300 grams of rice per meal, I go to my rice cooker, I fill it with rice, and for the day, my carbs are done. Okay, oatmeal, 3 minutes in the microwave, 4 minutes in the microwave, and then rice. That's it, I'm done. My carb portions of the day are done. Every time I wanna eat, I go to my rice cooker, I scoop out 300 grams, and I'm finished. Okay, chicken, why chicken? Because I cook a tray of chicken breast in the oven, put it in the fridge, same thing. Time for me to eat, I go to the fridge, warm up some chicken, throw some rice beside it, a little bit of barbecue sauce, that meal's done. My meals are always done. When you're cooking 6 different types of meals with different carbs and different proteins for each meal, it becomes very challenging. Lots of preparation, lots of getting ready, lots of things at the grocery store. Oh, I ran out of this, I gotta run back to the grocery store. I ran out of that, I gotta run back to the grocery store. My diet's simple. I go to the grocery store, I get like 8 foods in my cart, I cook in bulk, and when it's time to eat, the food's ready, throw it on a plate, and my food's done. If I gotta work, if I'm going away somewhere, my food's done. I put it all in Tupperwares, and I'm out the door. I don't worry about having to take 16 different things with me somewhere, and oh, I gotta have a variety of food, and I don't give a shit about that stuff, okay? If you do, and that's your thing, that's cool, but for most bodybuilders wanna keep shit simple. We want our food to be ready, we don't wanna miss any meals, and we wanna be able to count our macros and our calories in such a way to keep things really easy for ourselves. So we know in 2 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time, when we wanna change things, we know exactly where the food is coming from and exactly where to change things. And you're gonna see that when I move to the next column, okay? So anyway, so chicken and rice, barbecue sauce. Now, one of the things you need to know is for meals 2, 3, 4, 5, I dropped all the added fats. So there is no fat here that's added, it's just the fat from the food. And the reason I did that was, generally I add a lot of added fats to I add a tablespoon of olive oil, a tablespoon of peanut butter. I add a lot of fat to my food because I feel like it really helps. A friend of mine says to me, maybe you have a thicker waist and you're a little more bloated because you're adding too much fats. So for the first 4 weeks of the diet, I decided I'm gonna try less fat. So for those 4 meals, there's less fat, and it didn't really feel like it helped. I felt like my blood sugar was very unstable, and my glycogen stores were very unstable. One day I would look at myself at the gym and I was very full and very the muscle looked really good. And then one day I would look at myself at the gym and I was very flat and things didn't look good. And I didn't like that fluctuation. So as you can see, when we moved, I made some changes, okay? But for now, this was meals 2, 3, 4, okay? And my workout was right between 2 and 3. So my pre-workout meal, chicken and rice, post-workout meal, chicken and rice, digest quickly, didn't bother me during my workout, ate in recovery right away when I was done, so it was perfect. Meal 5, closer to the end of the night, I put steak and rice for meal 5. The reason I like to put those there is because the steak satiates me a little bit. So, you know, a lot of people like to snack at night. So if around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, usually it's the time I eat my 5th meal. So if around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I eat 8 ounces of steak, the fat from the steak satiates me a little bit. I feel less likely like I'm gonna snack. So I put this steak here on purpose. Okay, meal 6. Back to meal 1, same thing. Egg whites, eggs, tomato, and there's no carbs here, but I added 50 grams of almonds. It's quite a bit of fat. There's like 41 grams of fat, I think, and 50 grams of almonds. So this was my last meal of the night. And the almonds, like I said, because there's so much fat, they satiate me again. So when I go to bed, I feel full, I don't feel hungry, and I'm able to sleep well. Okay, this was the starting point. The more simplistic you can be in your preparation, the more likely you're gonna stay on track. That's kind of how I see things. The flip side to that is, the more you like your food, the more likely you are to stay on track. So it really depends what kind of person you are. Some people need to have that flavorful food every meal and they want to have something different all the time. That's cool, you do you. For me, I just want to make sure I get things in and I can track it. Okay, so that's 16 weeks. 12 weeks, I made some changes. Breakfast stayed the same, and meals 2, 3, 4, and 5 all got a reduction in carbs. So they went from 300 grams of rice to 200 grams of rice. So I dropped 100 grams of rice out of each meal, and I added a tablespoon of olive oil into 2, 3, and 4. Last meal of the night stayed the same, except we went from 50 grams of almonds to 25 grams of almonds. So basically, at 12 weeks, we upped the fat and dropped the carbs a little bit, okay? So then we go to 10 weeks. Now we're getting a little closer. So the show's coming up. We're like, okay, I didn't feel like I was making enough progress. Like, let's push things. There was a pretty significant difference when I changed the diet from 16 to 12. I noticed from 12 to 10 weeks on this diet here, the higher fat diet with a little bit lower carbs, I noticed some significant changes at the 12-week diet. 10 weeks, even more changes. I increased my egg whites and I decreased the eggs. Went to 2 eggs instead of 3. What that did was pull a little bit of saturated fat out of the diet. I cut the oats from 1 cup to half a cup. Okay, it's dropped a little bit more carbs. And then I cut all the rice meals from 200 grams to 150. So meals 2, 3, 4, 5 all became 150 grams of rice. Left the olive oil in, and then the last meal of the night, I dropped the almonds altogether. So no more almonds here. Now we're here. So 7 weeks out now, we made some more changes. Here they are. Breakfast stays the same. We dropped the tomato out of the breakfast. Meals 2 and 3, they remain the same as this. 7-ounce chicken, 150 grams of rice, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. That's meals 2 and 3. Meal 4 though, we dropped the rice completely. So we go 7 ounces of chicken, 1 cup of green beans, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. So meal 4 now has no more starchy carbs. Meal 5, the flank, also has no more starchy carbs. It's just 1 red pepper. So 8 ounces of flank, 1 red pepper. And then meal 6, no more tomato, just egg whites and eggs. So now, at the point we are right now, we dropped quite a bit of starch. So now we're down to, we're down to carbs only in meal 1, 2, and 3. Meals 4, 5, and 6 don't have any starchy carbs in them. We reduced the fat a little bit. Now we're gonna start to see things really roll. Things are gonna start to get harder. Once you start dropping everything, like all the carbs start to drop off and the fats start to drop off, that's when the diet becomes challenging, but that's also where you see the most gains. So I'm gonna take you through the numbers. From 16 to 12 to 10, to now 7 weeks out, we'll show you exactly what we're eating. So this is where we started. 16 weeks, calories were 4,569 where we started. At the cut, at 12 weeks, we went to 4262. So we dropped 300 calories in the first drop. One of the things people do wrong is they wanna speed things up too quickly and they drop too much. You can't beat this thing. There are ways to manipulate your fat loss, like carb cycling and things like that, but they're very complex, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's not gonna work out for you, okay? The easiest way to do it is just small increments, okay? 300 calories is actually quite a bit, but because I started in such a surplus, it was okay. So 300 calorie drop at 12 weeks out, that was after 4 weeks at 45.69. So I let my body really adjust to that 45.69. Went down to 42.62. Now at week 10, was a pretty giant jump, but that's because 42.62 is still a surplus. You know, at 10 weeks out from the show, I have a deadline. Now, if you're just doing this for fat loss, you know, for whatever reason, some personal reason, and you don't have a deadline, I don't suggest making this type of jump. This isn't that deep into a deficit. It's a big jump from where we were. So we were at 42.62. At 10 weeks, we dropped to 35.98. After 3 weeks on that diet, we dropped to 32.25. Now this is more a better indicator of what your drop should look like when you're into like your maintenance deficit area. Because when you're in a surplus, you can make that big drop and it won't matter because you're still in a surplus, right? But I went from 35.98 to 32.25. So I dropped, you know, 275 calories. I'm 7 weeks out from the show. 7 weeks sounds like a lot of time, but it's not. It'll be around the corner. So we're getting a little more aggressive. So 32.25. Now, protein, if you notice, has not changed that dramatically at all. So we went from 407, 392, 395, and then 386. So we're still in that. Remember our original number? Our original number was 375. So we're still at the right protein amount that we want. And that will probably stay pretty constant all the way to the show. Carbs, they have changed. So our number that we started with was 500, where we were supposed to be. We started under that at 462, went to 343, went to 225, and now we're at 144. Those are significant drops, and you're gonna feel that in your energy levels, okay? Remember, our original number is 89 grams of fat. So we were at 126, then we went to 154, so it went up a little bit. And then we went down to 112, and we're still at 112. So even at 112, we're still higher than the macro count that we need, but our overall calories are lower because our carbs are so low. These numbers are not carved in stone, right? They're very fluid, because if this carb number goes down to 100, you're gonna need an energy source from somewhere. So this fat number will go up. And that's why you see this carb number drop so significantly and this fat number not really move, because we want that, we need to get that energy somewhere, right? So we get the energy from the fats, we lower the carbs, the body will start to burn fat a little better because I'm in a deficit now. So there are other ways to do this. I'm not saying this is the only way or the best way. This is my way. And that's how we did it. So this is it in a nutshell, right? All the way through. There's not gonna be any drastic jumps anymore. So from here, from 7 weeks, it'll be small changes. Like, okay, let's drop the olive oil from meals 2 and 4, right? Or let's drop the peanut butter from breakfast. Or let's go to 16 egg whites and drop the whole eggs. It'll be stuff like that that'll start to really purify the diet and make it it'll be more protein than anything. You look at the diet and go, where can I pull some calories? Where can I pull some fat? Where can I pull some carbs to keep my body moving? And the changes have to be incremental. So 200 calories, 300 calories. And as the changes get deeper, they might only be 50 calories. They might only be 100 calories. So, you know, you're not gonna keep, you know, you see this drop here, 42.62 to just 35.98. You're not gonna do that when you're down in a deep deficit. You're not gonna drop 700 calories. When you're in a deep deficit, you're gonna drop 50 calories, 100 calories, but it's gonna make a big difference in your appearance. You're gonna see it more. I hope it taught you something about how to set up your diets. I hope it helps you shed some light on kind of where to start things and how to move things along so you can keep progressing in your own programs. In the meantime, check out hostile.com. New clothing on the site this week, supplements hopefully next week, and we'll be good from there. Till the next video, train hard, live hostile. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and like the video. And if you get a chance, check out the description for all the different links to all the different places you can find Hostile and myself. And lastly, check out hostile.com for our new line of supplements and all of our apparel and gear. Thanks again for watching.